In celebration of the DM era, let's talk about the cover cards from the main core sets. This was always something that I wondered about as a kid. What qualified the card to be on the cover of the set? For instance, Mask of Restrict is the cover card for Labyrinth of Nightmare. Meanwhile, Labyrinth of Nightmare was released in Ancient Sanctuary. Getting back on topic though, I'm going to be looking at the cover cards with both the subjective and competitive lens. A mix of my personal favorites and the cards which were actually good. The Creator is interesting. It is a good way to generate tempo, sending cards from the hand to the graveyard to resurrect monsters. The card has the weakness of not being allowed to be special summoned from the graveyard. Maybe for lore reasons. The Creator Incarnate does allow a way to special summon the Creator, but only from the hand. Summoned Skull is the cover card of Metal Raiders, and one of the two vanilla monsters on the list. Summoned Skull is a high attack, 1 tribute monster, with the same attack points as Dark Magician. It has lower defense points, but that is a plus since it can be searched by Witch of the Black Forest. Blueeyes White Dragon is the other vanilla monster, and since it is one of the most iconic Yu-Gi-Oh cards, has had continuous support and retrains. It is nice to see that the first card in the TCG still gets a degree of fame and recognition. I'm going to add an honorable mention to Dark Paladin, a fusion monster which was better than the majority at the time, and used Dark Magician as fusion material. Hellpomer has amazing art, and subjectively, I think that alone means it deserves to be on the list. But look at this deck list from Worlds 2003, piloted by Michael Ryback. There's a single copy of the card, but it still counts. The card is similarly restricted like the Creator, but if you can get it out, and it is destroyed as a result of battle, and sent to the graveyard, and remains in the graveyard, what a mouthful. Each turn, it forces your opponent to discard a card randomly. Free card advantage every turn. Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 is a remnant of the level monsters, but probably the best payoff. Level monsters are really a whole topic to expound upon, but in regards to HTBFDLV8, there is an asymmetric spell canceller, which allows you to choose which spells to negate. This is tricky to bring out, but every so often a wild monster appears. We are getting to the point of the list where the cards have had a competitive impact. Mask of Restrict is a floodgate against tributing cards, in any way, which means it waxes and wanes in power with the shifting meta. Notable meta strategies affected by this card are Hieratics, Monarchs, and interestingly enough, Nekroz. The card is likely to see play from time to time, but maybe never a side deck staple. Sacred Phoenix of Nifs was limited at one point. This card is better self-revival than Revival Jam, and on top of it, there's a heavy storm effect when it is summoned in this way. The format was a little slower, and destruction more common than banishing effects. But the reason it was limited is probably due to Hand of Nifs, which can special summon the Phoenix from hand or deck at a reasonable cost. Thousand Eyes Restrict was banned from September 2006 to February 2016, almost 10 years. Total battle phase lockdown, and restricting battle positions. I am not sure why it has a protection from battle effect, but stealing a monster as an equip card is very strong. This card slows down the game, and is one of the strongest control cards in the game. Dark Magician of Chaos is also recently off the ban list, but not because the meta can handle it. DMOC had an erratum, specifically changing the spell recursion from instantly to at the end of the turn. The reason this is higher than Thousand Eyes Restrict is because an erratum is a desperate measure in the design of the game. And what is stronger than a card whose effect had to be changed? How about a card that can never come off the list? Last turn. The reasons are twofold: that the card is confusing and leads to ties, but more importantly, the card trivializes the game. With a monster like Jiaogin the Spiritualist, you win the game on the spot. There is actually a lot of FTK risk with cards like Temple of Kings, allowing your first turn to be the last turn.